This boy only learned some martial arts secrets from cheap street stall books, was designated as the world's most dangerous person, and was even locked up in an underwater prison, undergoing inhumane experiments, until one day, 3 years later, a voice echoed in the cold laboratory. Experiment number 1999 is complete. Transplant failed. No mutation reaction. Hearing this noisy sound, Li Cheng gradually regained consciousness. Looking at his arms, full of tubes, and the strangers around him, he didn't know what this group of people had done to him. He only felt his body, as if it had been bitten by 10,000 ants. The bald man in front of him saw that Li Cheng had regained consciousness, and began to speak on his own. I don't know why those prophets put you at the top of the dangerous individuals list, and we have grown tired of conducting endless failed experiments on you. Now all the experimental data proves you are just a piece of trash, but luckily, you have the perfect setup as the most dangerous villain, so I have decided to give you one last chance. Join us. Work for Hajong Guo or die. Feeling some strength return to his arm, Li Cheng smiled slightly. If you want to win someone over, you have to show some sincerity. The restraints on my chest are too tight. The bald man, thinking he controlled everything, immediately had his subordinates release the leather straps on Li Cheng, and extended his left hand, congratulating him on making a smart decision. But just then, Li Cheng slipped his foot. With a Tai Chi push hands move, he directly struck the chest of a nearby guard. Then, he forcefully broke his own thumb, and broke free from the handcuffs. Mantis fist, blade-breaking hand, hooking and jabbing at the vital points. The set of coiling silk leg movements was as smooth as flowing water. The guard lost consciousness in an instant, and in the eyes of the others, only a second had passed. In this era where everyone awakens, superpowers, the ability Li Cheng awakened was super strong nerve reflexes and martial arts. The bald man looked at the scene in disbelief. Before he could react, the other guard and the female secretary in the room fell one after another. Looking at the bald man slumped on the ground, Li Cheng didn't give him any chance to speak, and a single kick sent him to his grave. He then picked up the notebook the bald man left behind, and began to read it. It turned out that with the wave of superpower awakenings, 12 prophets with the ability of foresight jointly wrote a list of villains. It recorded the evil superhumans who would use their powers in the future to cause mass casualties, and on that list of dangerous individuals, the one ranked first was actually himself. Seeing this, Li Cheng could no longer suppress the anger in his heart. He was just an ordinary person. But because of this damned list, he was captured by these crazed people for experiments. Looking at the camera with its flashing red light, Li Cheng roared, I don't care who you are. Listen up. I will definitely escape, and then find you one by one. And in the monitoring room, facing Li Cheng's anger, Major General Grant showed a look of disdain. He ordered his men to open the hatches and release all the mutated test subjects, letting them kill each other, looking at the mutants in front of him, biting each other, without any self-awareness. Li Cheng secretly thought that his failed transformation was truly a fortunate thing. At this moment, his muscles bulged, his bones cracked and popped, as if possessed by a demon. His level of self-control had reached an incredible level. It was the highest realm of Chinese martial arts, the unity of body and mind, accompanied by the roaring breath of 10,000 beasts. Li Cheng, like a fierce tiger descending the mountain, carved a bloody path. After easily killing several hundred people, a mutated Japanese man, as strong as a black bear, blocked his path. This man was the leader of the largest gang in the Eastern Hemisphere, the Buddha, Masaru Okan. Faced with the man's taunts, the response was a lightning-fast 1-inch punch. He was knocked back dozens of meters with just one blow. The man was greatly shocked. His hands turned into sharp claws as he lunged at Li Cheng. Another downward kick directly snapped the man's neck. Looking at the fallen man, Li Cheng couldn't help but want to teach him a lesson. No matter how tough you become, the location of the life gates in the body's 8 extraordinary meridians will not change. But just then, the man who was already on the ground suddenly straightened his broken neck, and gradually grew crab-like scales and claws all over his body. He had transformed into a terrifying humanoid monster. Facing the ferocious monster, Li Cheng was fearless. Tiger and crane double form of the ferocious tiger. His fists rained down on the monster like hailstones, but with little effect. A martial artist's heart must hold a bit of ferocity. Li Cheng's joy came from his heart. A Wing Chun 1-inch punch instantly pierced the monster's vital point, directly pulling out the monster's brain and crushing it. From then on, the humanoid monster showed no more signs of life. At the same time, to cover up the scandal of human experimentation, Major General Grant activated the base's self-destruct sequence. Simultaneously, the first-generation super soldier, Diego, also began his slaughter of the mutated people in the base. Li Cheng was climbing up a level through the elevator shaft. Looking at his blood-stained hands, he felt the power within him growing stronger, but the accompanying side effect was an excruciating pain. Just then, in the corner, a thumping heartbeat caught Li Cheng's attention. He walked over to take a look, and it was a little girl who was half human, half fish. The girl's name was Nina. After she was born, her chromosomes underwent a drastic change. In order to survive, her family injected her with monster cells, and she became like this. Out of sympathy, Li Cheng decided to take Nina with him to escape, but at that moment, Nina's heartbeat attracted the attention of the super soldier Diego above. With a bang, a bullet pierced through the elevator, ending Nina's life. Watching Nina slowly fall, Li Cheng was enraged. The next second, the elevator was smashed open with a punch. The furious Li Cheng was like a wild beast, swinging his sharp claws at Diego. His fists rained down like hailstones. In just a few seconds, the first-generation super soldier's bones were all shattered, and he collapsed to the ground like a pile of mud. Li Cheng grabbed his corpse and spoke fiercely to the already broken camera. "I will find you and personally send you to hell." The furious Li Cheng gradually lost his sanity. Countless auras emanated from his body, transforming into a demon-like form. His muscles bulged all over his body, and his face gradually became distorted. Dozens of soldiers were slaughtered in an instant, accompanied by the demon's roar. Everyone was terrified by the hellish scene. In the monitoring room, a general immediately was about to press the self-destruct switch. Nina's father tried to stop him, but was shot through the chest. With the self-destruct sequence activated, only the last 3 minutes remained. But just then, a story his grandfather told him as a child rang in Li Cheng's ears. Once, by the Golden Lotus Pond, the Buddha saw his disciple Khandata in the depths of Avicii hell. He had committed many evil deeds in his life, but once, he saw a spider crawling under his foot, and felt a pang of pity, sparing its life. The Buddha gazed upon the human hell, and recalling Khandata's single act of kindness, thinking, "Why must all beings suffer?" he let down a silver spider thread. Khandata saw the silver spider thread falling from the sky, knowing that following this path of life would lead him out of the sea of suffering. So he leaped out and climbed up the spider thread. No matter how many thousands of miles separated heaven and hell, his only thought was to climb up. Khandata climbed through hell, ignoring the desperate screams, and turning a blind eye to the poisonous water streams that splashed in his face. The story came to an abrupt end here. His grandfather's figure appeared in Li Cheng's mind. "Chengzai, you must remember, if one day you unfortunately fall into a human hell, I hope you can hold on to your compassionate heart, and realize the truth that the 5 aggregates are empty and all is a reflection of the mind. Then you will be able to master this prajna palm." Suddenly, Li Cheng snapped his eyes open. A faint golden light emanated from his hands. He pushed down with all his might. The huge impact of the prajna palm shattered the bones in both of his arms. Despite the excruciating pain, he paid it no mind. Using the massive force of the prajna palm, he took 2 steps at a time, stepping on the falling rocks, and charged upwards. He was determined to break out of this human hell, and destroy all injustice in the world. At the same time, outside the laboratory base, the calm sea began to churn. A fat man in a red coat used his superpower to part the sea before him, lifting the submarine hidden at the bottom high into the air, and beside him, a blond boy who looked like the 4th Hokage began to charge up. Suddenly, a beam of light shot from his hand. The once incredibly sturdy submarine was cut in half after a few seconds. The man in red, the fat one, controlled his superpower, pulling an officer from inside in front of the 2 of them. The officer immediately raised his hands, saying he would agree to any request to save his life, and the blonde man had always wanted to know who was number 1 on the list. Just at that moment, there was a loud bang. A person rushed out of the nearby base. His right leg was already severely injured. Another loud bang. Li Cheng landed steadily on the ground. On his rather thin body, his arms and right leg were already twisted. The three of them looked at Li Cheng in shock, lost in thought. Dragging his injured right leg, Li Cheng slowly walked towards the two, taking advantage of their distraction. The officer pulled out his pistol and pulled the trigger. However, an incredible scene occurred. Li Cheng caught the bullet with only his teeth. Then, he delivered a heavy headbutt to the officer's head. At this time, the two beside him looked at each other. The blonde-haired man spoke first, saying to the fallen Li Cheng, "Hey, brother, are you interested in hearing about the Grand Villain Alliance?" Through conversation, he learned the so-called Grand Villain Alliance only had 4 members, including himself. The man in the red clothes was named Page. His ability was to control gravity. The blonde-haired boy was named Luoxia. His ability was plasma manipulation, and their purpose in finding Li Cheng was to go to Hazhongguo to rescue another partner with super strong mind control abilities, Xia Anning. At the same time, the Ymir naval base being destroyed attracted attention from all sides. Coming to take over the jurisdiction of the North Sea prison, Jiman Linda immediately felt that things were not as simple as a prison break. She reported the situation to the president immediately. Little did she know, her every move was under the Navy's surveillance. Soon, the Navy used sonic tracking to lock onto a federal agent named Susan. Meanwhile, on the other side, Pig's recovery greatly increased the trio's travel speed, according to the intelligence provided by Luoxia, due to superhumans. This caused frequent attacks and violent incidents in various countries. 12 superhumans with precognitive abilities jointly published a list, which recorded the evil superhumans who would use their powers to cause massive casualties in the future. But the time this list was published was long after Li Cheng was kidnapped. This meant that Hazhongguo had long possessed this complete list, and had immediately begun capturing and studying the superhumans on it. Luoxia believed there must be a huge conspiracy behind this, and those who suffered because of this list were not just Li Cheng. Ranked second, Page also had his family destroyed because of this list. His wife and daughter were burned alive, leaving only a dirty rabbit doll. Page also lost control of his powers because of this, triggering a magnitude 7 earthquake. He is currently wanted. Fortunately, Xia Anning managed to seal part of Pig's memories and emotions, preventing a greater panic. At this time, Luoxia was curious about what ability Li Cheng had to be ranked above Page. Li Cheng said he just knew a little kung fu. He then broke a few fish bones and threw them at a seagull in the sky. In the blink of an eye, the seagull was pierced by the fish bones and fell. But in Page and Luoxia's eyes, what they saw was Li Cheng with 8 arms, like a Lohan. Inside the convenience store, Federal Agent Susan was secretly connecting with Linda, exchanging intelligence. Li Cheng and his group of 3, having come ashore, also happened to come here to resupply. Watching the superhero promotions on TV, Luoxia said that the public had now adapted to the existence of superhumans, and superhuman advertising is now the most profitable industry. Like this super beauty with the ability of blessing. As long as you follow and comment, you will be blessed with good luck and an annual income of tens of millions. At the same time, Page, in a nearby magazine, discovered the creator of the villain list, one of the 12 prophecy masters, Barbara. The 3 of them immediately had a bold idea. Suddenly, a young man in black burst in with a gun, preparing to rob the place. Susan quickly hid her computer and ducked under the table. Li Cheng casually raised his hand and directly broke the young man's arm. Page activated his ability and twisted the gun into a pretzel. Watching the robber being instantly subdued, Susan calmed herself down and looked out the window, only to find her car had been stolen by Li Cheng and his group. Just then, the Navy agent, monitoring Susan, saw Li Cheng and the others in Susan's car, and concluded that Susan was likely an insider. He even expanded the surveillance to the entire Federal Investigation Bureau. Then he leaked the information to Golden Tooth, who had kidnapped Li Cheng before, stating that Li Cheng had teamed up with the FBI, and hoped Golden Tooth would send someone to eliminate Li Cheng, while he would take care of the FBI. At night, Li Cheng and his group of 3 arrived at the Prophet Barbara's villa area, across the coast. Paige directly activated his power, pulling the power cable out from underground. Then Luoxia cut off the power system. As the lights on the opposite side gradually went out, Paige activated his power again, forcefully pulling Barbara from her villa thousands of meters away. Li Cheng looked at Paige in shock. He never expected the range of Pig's ability to be so vast. Faced with the trio's questions, Barbara said that she did not create the villain list. She was just a puppet put forward by the government to protect the real prophets. Just then, a car sped over and sent Barbara to her death. Then, 4 masked people got out of the car. They were the culprits who killed Pig's family back then. Paige was instantly enraged and unleashed his power on the 4. Suddenly, the raven masked man's box on his back glowed with a faint green light. The power Paige unleashed actually landed on himself. The immense pressure caused the ground to collapse instantly. Paige was severely injured by his own ability. The man with the golden mask flickered, and in an instant, appeared above Luoxia. With one strike of his club, Luoxia instantly lost consciousness. Li Cheng looked at the scene in shock. He couldn't believe his eyes. Behind the cat-faced man, the long-dead little fish, Nina, was standing there blankly, as if sensing Li Cheng's gaze. Nina walked straight over to Li Cheng and said, "Nice to meet you. My name is Xia Anning." Seeing Li Cheng's confused look, Xia Anning explained, to avoid increasing the mental burden, she would choose the form of the child, deepest in Li Cheng's memory, to maintain a stable mental link. However, her appearance severely affected Li Cheng's movements. She urged Li Cheng that Paige must kill them with his own hands to vent the anger in his heart. Otherwise, if Paige loses control, he will never be suppressed again. At the same time, the ghost-faced man threw the axe in his hand to the ground. In a cloud of dark purple mist, the axe suddenly appeared behind Li Cheng, tearing his clothes. The rabbit-faced man also swung his club. Li Cheng, who could normally easily deflect the attack, didn't know why. His arm uncontrollably lifted a few inches. Xia Anning apologized, saying her mental link could enhance superpowers, but it couldn't keep up with Li Cheng's reaction speed, causing him a considerable burden. Seeing that he was injured by a few small fries, he could no longer tolerate the anger in his heart, and demanded Xia Anning to link with someone else, and not to be a liability here. Xia Anning spread her hands helplessly. The opponent seemed to have a special ability or item that forcibly broke her link with Paige. Now, only Li Cheng could be linked, but his mental perception was too fast, with too many light and sound signals. She couldn't keep up at all. Having found the cause, Li Cheng immediately thought of a countermeasure. He could completely rely on his perception and the vibration of hearts to identify the enemy's position and movements. He instructed Xia Anning to leave control of his left hand to him. Then he closed his eyes and put his right hand behind his back. Faced with Li Cheng's taunt, the rabbit-faced man was instantly enraged and swung his club. At the same time, the ghost-faced man used the purple energy to launch a long-range attack, but all their movements were within Li Cheng's perception. He disarmed the club with one hand, and, using the Sansai steps, dodged the axe attack. He used the momentum to spin the club and hit the axe. A single Tai Chi small coiling hand technique instantly dealt with the two of them. At the same time, it also disturbed the opponent's weapons. Although he couldn't kill these guys directly, leaving them with a breath of life was no problem. Sensing something strange from the box on the raven-faced man's back, Li Cheng threw an axe at it. The sharp axe blade cut the shoulder strap, and the box fell. The next moment, the raven-faced man slowly opened the backpack. A brain connected to a beating heart appeared before everyone. This was Ha Zhong, Guo's portable device for dealing with superhumans, a super weapon. The girl in the box, Leiko-chan. Li Cheng was completely shocked by the actions of these scumbags, but the golden-masked man was still explaining on his own the process of making the weapon. With the injection of a golden potion, a mental storm filled with infinite pain and despair, like a hurricane, swept over everyone's bodies. Li Cheng constantly heard the girl's desperate cries in his ears. Feeling the pain that the girl in the box had truly experienced, he almost lost control of his own body, and was plunged into an endless hell. Looking at Li Cheng kneeling on the ground, the golden-masked man picked up the club and swung it wildly. "Is this the #1 superhuman? It seems the despair and pain you have experienced is far less than Leiko-chan's. Li Cheng fell limply to the ground. The golden-masked man took out another new potion and injected it into the rabbit-faced man. In just a moment, his originally broken bones healed completely. Seeing victory in his grasp, the golden-masked man said with a disdainful expression, "Do you know what this is? This is a super recovery potion, also from the North Sea prison. We caught a woman with rapid, self-healing abilities, and her children will also inherit this ability. Guess how this thing is made?" The masked man's words undoubtedly made the anger in Li Cheng's heart burn even hotter. "You scumbags from the Secret Service." Faced with Li Cheng's curse, the masked man laughed mockingly. "We are not from the Secret Service. We are just a subcontracting company that does the dirty work for the Secret Service. Seeing the PT logo of our company on your face, I guess the Secret Service commissioned us to kidnap the first batch of super goods." After saying this, the masked man stopped wasting words and swung the axe towards Li Cheng's neck. Just then, Xia Anning's spiritual form turned into a young girl, and she struggled to walk towards Leiko-chan. However, the brainwaves, mixed with the girl's pain and despair, and cries, made it impossible for her to get close. She looked at her fallen comrades. If she couldn't stop the enemy in time, everyone would probably die here. Enduring the tearing pain, she moved towards the girl in the box, step by step. At this time, Leiko-chan also saw the girl's appearance clearly. It was her former self. As if feeling the hellish pain again, Leiko-chan instinctively rejected Xia Anning's kindness. An even more powerful mental storm directly dispersed Xia Anning's spiritual body, but Xia Anning burned her life force to awaken again, enduring the pain of her soul being torn apart, and used the gentlest voice to soothe this wounded soul. With her own hands, she tightly embraced the girl who was in hell. Gradually, Leiko calmed down under Xia Anning's comfort. That terrifying mental storm gradually dissipated. Li Cheng, having regained his mobility, grabbed the descending axe. At this moment, he could no longer suppress the anger in his heart. His palm directly pierced through the golden-masked man's body. The sudden turn of events caught the raven-faced man off guard. He frantically injected drugs into Leiko-chan, wanting to activate the box of sorrows again, but his hand was tightly gripped by Luoxia. Endless flames burned his skin. For these scumbags, not even dust deserved to remain in this world. At this moment, in everyone's ears, Xia Anning's soul-healing song echoed. Leiko-chan lay in Xia Anning's arms, sleeping peacefully. This might be the happiest moment she has had in so many years. At the same time, Paige, in Xia Anning's song, also regained his peace. He seemed to see his wife and daughter, always by his side, protecting him. He placed his hand on the rabbit-faced man's head and activated his ability. Gradually, the rabbit-faced man was compressed into a ball of flesh and died in agony. At this time, the golden-masked man, not yet dead, looked at Paige with fear in his eyes. In the end, he also became a tool for Paige to vent his anger. The ghost-faced man, watching this scene, was so scared he slumped to the ground. He couldn't believe it. The situation that was once in their favor had been completely reversed. Paige gently placed his daughter's beloved rabbit toy next to the girl in the box. With the blazing fire, Leiko-chan was completely. Paige also walked out of his pain. Just then, the superpowered girl Infinity, who was searching for the prophets, appeared before everyone. Looking at the prophet lying in a pool of blood, and the bodies on the ground, Infinity was enraged. The ghost-faced man took this opportunity to run away. Unfortunately, what awaited him was the one who clears the world of injustice. At this time, Infinity also recognized them as the criminals on the villain list. She clenched her fist and lunged at Luoxia. But before she could get close, she was pressed to the ground by immense gravity, unable to move. Faced with such an arrogant villain, the self-proclaimed righteous Infinity directly chose to use a special potion. In an instant, her power was greatly enhanced. Her speed was so fast that she broke through Pig's blockade and aimed her fist at Luoxia. Fortunately, Li Cheng reacted in time, pulling Luoxia away to dodge the attack. As the potion's effects continued to strengthen, Pig's gravity suppression gradually lost its effect. Looking at Infinity's fierce gaze, Li Cheng also prepared to warm up. Facing Infinity, he adopted a traditional martial arts stance. Infinity stomped her right foot hard and quickly charged towards Li Cheng. She threw a straight punch powerful enough to collapse a city wall. Li Cheng sidestepped, simultaneously raising his right knee and right elbow, like a pair of pliers, clamping down on Infinity's arm joint. Then his right foot landed, stomping on Infinity's supporting right foot. At the same time, he lifted his left foot and kicked Infinity's abdomen. Then, he tapped the back of her right knee. Finally, he leaped into the air, turned, and kicked her heart. The entire sequence of movements was as smooth as flowing water, perfectly executing the kick, pointing the lights to the fullest. But from Luoxia and Pig's perspective, they only saw Infinity pose, turn into a streak of light and rush towards Li Cheng, and then get kicked back by Li Cheng. In the blink of an eye, Infinity lost consciousness. If she weren't a superhuman type ability user, she would probably be a corpse by now. He pulled off the scarf on Infinity, and took out the micro-injector hidden inside. It was the special potion developed by the North Sea Prison, that could temporarily grant ordinary people superpowers. They knew that in this era of superpower awakenings, nations, corporations, and gangs, every ambitious person with power and wealth wanted to control this power that could rewrite the rules of the world. And these superhumans, if they didn't want to become their test subjects or pawns, could only unite. At this time, Xia Anning, due to excessive consumption, could no longer maintain her spiritual form and temporarily disappeared. The three decided to take care of business first, and rescue Xia Anning. On the road, aboard, Luoxia was browsing his favorite vlogger, Iron Lily. Suddenly, he was struck as if by lightning. He discovered in a photo posted by Iron Lily, the TT logo actually appeared, and the location was the burning building they had just passed, the Golden Lotus Hotel. Rewind to 12 hours earlier, the Tsarist Empire, which had been at war with Hajongguo for a long time, sent a representative for a meeting to facilitate a truce between the two countries, and accompanying them this time was an extremely important figure, the Tsar's granddaughter, Princess Anna, to celebrate the end of a century-long conflict between the two empires that ruled the world, and the lowering of the curtain on the conflict. Hajongguo held a grand banquet at its largest hotel, the Golden Lotus, and for security reasons, Princess Anna was locked in her room and not allowed to go out. After all, they were still in enemy territory. However, they underestimated the princess' curiosity about the new world. She used her superpower to escape, and on the way, she happened to meet Iron Lily, who was there for a talent show. Soon, the two, with similar interests, became best friends, and the two were also invited by others to attend a masquerade ball at the Golden Lotus Hotel. At this time, in the hotel banquet hall, dignitaries from both countries were gathered, and various forces gradually began to make their moves. Golden Tooth, a pawn of the Tsarist Empire's second prince, mobilized all his men to prepare for a bloodbath at the Golden Lotus, to permanently keep the Tsar's delegation in Hajongguo, and Hajongguo's secret service also dispatched assassins to eliminate 6 important figures. At the same time, in a coffee shop near the Golden Lotus Hotel, Officer Regan, along with the Prophet Beast, had gathered 4 superhuman righteous warriors, Superheroine, Infinity, the cool and capable Fiona with a halo, the fire hero Pastor, and the sturdy Belle. Beast said with a serious face that he was one of the 12 prophets who participated in writing the villain list. He had summoned them this time to verify the authenticity of the villain list. He then announced his prophecy for this time. Tonight, there will be the first incident of a villain ability user causing mass casualties. Then tomorrow at 5 a.m., the Tsar will tear up the peace treaty and declare war on all superhumans in the world and the forces that shelter them. At this time, Golden Tooth and his men, heading to the top-floor casino, happened to meet Princess Anna on the way and invited her to witness the great moment. When he pushed open the casino doors, everyone was shocked. He directly snapped the neck of Paul, the owner of the Golden Lotus Hotel. Susan took the opportunity to secretly press the alarm, but Golden Tooth didn't care at all, and directly pulled out his gun and fired at Susan. Then he snapped his fingers and brought out Princess Anna. Grand Duke Kiev knew the princess' importance, and said he could agree to any of Golden Tooth's conditions, but he had to guarantee the princess' safety. Just then, the brightly lit room suddenly plunged into darkness. A large group of mercenaries burst in, and began an indiscriminate slaughter of Golden Tooth and his men. The mercenary leader, Gustav, pointed his gun at Grand Duke Kiev's head, and asked for the princess whereabouts. His goal was simple: to kill the Tsar's most beloved granddaughter, the princess. To provoke a war between the two countries, and killing Golden Tooth was just to help the second prince smoothly take power and eliminate some stains. Suddenly, Iron Lily's phone rang at an inopportune moment. While everyone was distracted, Golden Tooth jumped out from among the corpses and grabbed Princess Anna, wanting to use her as a hostage to help him escape. Gustav paid no attention to Golden Tooth and instead aimed his gun directly at them. To him, both were targets that had to die. Outside the hotel, Officer Regan heard the incessant gunshots and prepared to take action. Suddenly, Barbara screamed and flew past everyone. Seeing the Prophet being kidnapped, Infinity immediately decided to go rescue the Prophet first, and then return to regroup with the others. And this was the moment when the protagonist and his group of 3 found the Prophet Barbara. With the addition of the 3 superheroes, the situation outside the hotel was gradually brought under control. To quickly grasp the situation inside the hotel, Officer Regan used his electromagnetic force to violently throw Belle towards the hotel lobby. With a loud bang, Belle broke through the solid ground and just happened to block Gustav's bullet aimed at the princess. At the same time, Fiona brought Pasta to a window. Pasta leaped down and unleashed a torrent of huge water on the people inside, instantly washing away the mercenaries. Belle took the opportunity to charge at Gustav and knocked him to the ground. He directly activated his power, turning the ground into silicon carbide to restrain Gustav. Golden Tooth saw a rare opportunity and quickly ran out the door, holding Princess Anna. At the same time, the assassin who received orders from the Secret Service used his power to send a large amount of explosives into the room. Seeing the impending explosion, Belle unhesitatingly stood in front of everyone. A huge explosion sounded. The entire Golden Lotus Hotel was ablaze. The smoke cleared, leaving behind a field of rubble, leave ruins all over the ground, and protected Susan and Iron Lily. But her own abdomen was pierced by a steel bar. Blood flowed down the steel bar to the ground. As the phone call connected, Luoxia's voice came through. After stating he was at the Golden Lotus Hotel, he quickly hung up. At this time, Belle, having taken most of the impact, was in a life-or-death situation. Pasta, due to the heat of the explosion, had the surrounding water vapor evaporated, greatly reducing his power. Regan, seeing the escaped Gustav, knew things were bad. Originally, the battle plan formulated against Gustav's abilities had failed. He could only stall him until Infinity returned. With the activation of his power, a dark purple lightning spear gradually formed in Regan's hand. Gustav bit his finger and condensed his blood into a blood-red dagger. However, how could Regan, who was in the city, be a match for Gustav, who had been bathed in the flames of war for years? In just a short while, he was pierced through the chest by Gustav's blood blade, but Regan also grabbed Gustav's arm. At the same time, a huge amount of lightning power surged from his body, transforming into a purple arrow. Gustav's blood blade gradually disintegrated, but he did not fall. Enduring the pain of the lightning strike, he fiercely punched Regan's wound again. Fiona, seeing this, quickly used a mental attack, nightmare imprisonment, trapping him in a recurring nightmare. Taking this opportunity, Pasta also activated his power, drawing out the water from his blood, and using the moisture in the air to freeze him. Regan, enduring the pain, conjured a lightning spear and cut off his hands. Everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. With the release of Fiona's power, the eyes of the originally frozen Gustav burned with angry flames. In his nightmare, he saw his daughter who died in the war. The immense grief directly caused him to break through the ice, and his hands regenerated through his blood power. 2 huge blood wings grew from his back. His whole body turned crimson, muscles and veins bulging, like a demon crawling out of hell. At the same time, Li Cheng and his group of 3 also arrived downstairs at the hotel. Luoxia said with a look of regret that he was the one who asked Iron Lily to come back for the talent show. He had a responsibility to save her. Paige said that there were real guns and bullets inside, and it was not a game. There was no choice. Finally, Li Cheng decided to go in for a run. Paige and Luoxia would attack from the outside. Following Xia Anning's instructions, Li Cheng quickly dealt with the small fry on the 40th floor. At the same time, Golden Tooth, holding Princess Anna hostage, also reached the rooftop. Just as he was about to escape by helicopter, a pair of large hands reached out from behind him and directly twisted Golden Tooth's head 360 degrees, sending him to his death. Andrei calmly walked off the plane and gave Natasha a big slap and threatened that if she involved the princess again, he would send her to see God. Just as they were about to leave, countless blood spikes pierced through the helicopter. Andrei quickly shielded Grand Duke Kiev and Princess Anna, but Natasha, unable to dodge in time, was injured by the explosion. Her fair back. Gustav, waving his, appeared before everyone, for him. Once the two countries signed the peace treaty, his country would never have the chance to escape Hajong, Guo's exploitation and slavery, so Princess Anna must die. Only then could a war be provoked between the two countries. Faced with a powerful enemy, Andrei activated his power and transformed into a werewolf. Under the bright moonlight, Gustav, who had transformed into a demon, and the werewolf Andrei began their duel. At the same time, Beast, with the healing potion he found on Golden Tooth's men, arrived on the 40th floor. After the potion's treatment, Regan, Pastor, and Belle gradually recovered. Seeing that everyone was fine, Fiona also slumped to the ground, exhausted. The room had already been blown in half. Everyone had to retreat separately. Suddenly, Fiona, sensing a threat, once again conjured her wings. A Secret Service assassin emerged from the shadows. He said that as long as they left Susan behind, he would let them go. However, Fiona refused his offer, and directly attacked with a mental shockwave. To avoid harming the other injured people, she could only spread the shockwave in other directions. However, she did not know that this action of hers would affect Xia Anning. Xia Anning's anomaly also exposed Li Cheng's position. Pastor directly activated his power, and an ice cone shot towards Li Cheng behind the wall. Li Cheng sidestepped to dodge, and seeing the frenzied Xia, his heart filled with anger. He kicked through the wall and attacked Pastor. Pastor quickly turned to ice to increase his defense, but he had underestimated Li Cheng's attack power. Belle, seeing his friend in danger, activated his ability, and rushed over, but was pierced through the chest by Li Cheng's fist, who then dug out his heart and crushed it. Regan, seeing his two friends killed, was filled with rage. He controlled lightning with both hands and charged at Li Cheng. Li Cheng, unfazed, grabbed his head and smashed it into the ground. In just an instant, he had defeated 3 superheroes. At the same time, Li Cheng also spotted the 3, Iron Lily and the others, on the other side. He threw a frying pan, embedding the assassin behind them into the wall. Then he pointed a finger at Fiona, warning her that if she dared to use a mental attack again, she should prepare to die. At this moment, Beast suddenly called out to Li Cheng, and briefly explained what had happened. He also admitted that he was one of the 12 prophets who created the list. His purpose here was to coordinate with the self-organized superhumans, to deal with the terrorists, and also to verify the authenticity of the list. At this time, Paige and Luoxia also caught up. Li Cheng said that since they had found Iron Lily, they should leave quickly and take Beast with them for interrogation. But Beast hoped Li Cheng would go to the rooftop now to rescue Princess Anna. He said that this moment was a fork in history. Anna's life or death was crucial. As long as she lived, she could completely change the future and let billions of people live. Li Cheng naturally would not believe Beast's words, but Luoxia suggested going to the rooftop to steal the helicopter the terrorists had prepared and leave. It was better than going down to face the police surrounding the place. Li Cheng thought this was a good idea and quickly rushed to the rooftop. Andrei's family, as nobles of the Tsarist Empire, had always taken pride in defending the empire's borders. However, just because Andrei was a werewolf, he did not gain the trust of those royals. Only Grand Duke Kiev not only rescued him from the royal laboratory, but also entrusted him with the safety of the princess. But now, facing Gustav's attack, he was powerless. Seeing more and more wounds on Andrei, Grand Duke Kiev quickly took Anna and tried to escape down the stairs. Countless blood spikes fell from the sky. Andrei quickly used his body to shield Grand Duke Kiev and the princess, letting the blood spikes pierce his own body. Looking at the dazed Natasha, Andrei roared at her to think of something. Natasha threw a nearby oil drum to Andrei. Andrei tore the drum in half, letting the gasoline drench him. Then he charged at Gustav, letting the blood blades slash his body. He used all his strength to hold Gustav tightly. At this moment, Natasha threw the lighter with tears in her eyes. Intense flames instantly engulfed the two of them. Andrei endured the pain of the burning flames, and held Gustav firmly to the ground. Gustav, ignoring Andrei's attack, forcefully extended his right hand. Several blood spikes shot directly at Anna. Grand Duke Kiev quickly stood in front of Anna. The blood spikes pierced his body, pinning him to the ground. Looking at the two lifeless figures, Natasha instantly lost all her strength and slumped to the ground. She didn't understand why they had to kill Anna. What wrong had this innocent little girl done? And at this moment, as the flames died down, Andrei had already turned into a pile of ash. Gustav stood up from the ashes and walked up to Natasha. He swung his blood blade, wanting to finish off this woman and end everything here. Just then, a huge force hit his abdomen, kicking him flying dozens of meters. Li Cheng glanced at Natasha, who was slumped on the ground. This size shouldn't be the little girl Anna they mentioned. Since it's not her, it should be the girl under that man over there. Seeing that Anna was actually not dead, Gustav quickly spread his blood wings and charged over. Li Cheng, with a tiger pounce kick, kicked him away again. Seeing Gustav still able to stand, after taking two of his attacks, Li Cheng suddenly became interested. After all, there weren't many people who could be his training partner. However, Gustav's only thought at this time was to kill Princess Anna. But Li Cheng was like a great mountain, blocking his way, making it impossible for him to. He conjured countless blood whips, lashing at the ground. The already dilapidated rooftop instantly collapsed. Fortunately, Page arrived in time and saved the two girls. But at this moment, another assassin from the Secret Service had already targeted him. Faced with Gustav's relentless pestering, Li Cheng was already furious. He grabbed Gustav's head and dragged him down more than 10 floors, then threw him into the air. Then he quickly rushed to the ground. Using the impact from the ground, he fiercely kicked the airborne Gustav. Then he rushed to the sky again, and with a high kick, he came down with a powerful chop. The immense force pierced through the entire Golden Lotus Hotel, like an earthquake. Just then, a sniper bullet hit Pig's chest. Fortunately, Page, in an instant, used his power to lock the bullet that should have pierced his heart. He endured the intense pain, and moved the two girls to a safe place the next second. Luoxia's shoulder and arm were shot through. Then another bullet came flying, but was blocked by Luoxia's electromagnetic force. At this time, his whole body gradually turned into flames. His friend's injury had thoroughly enraged him. He flew up, and in an instant, found the sniper's position. A powerful electromagnetic cannon blasted over, but the sniper easily dodged it by teleporting. Although powerful, Luoxia's attacks were useless against the sniper with teleportation abilities. As the gunshots continued, bullets shot at Luoxia from all directions. Gradually, Luoxia's flame body was dispersed, leaving only a cloak floating alone in the air. At the same time, Gustav also crawled out of the rubble. Intense hatred caused him to completely evolve into his ultimate form, according to Xia Anning's instructions. At this time, he was filled with negative emotions. Although his strength was greatly increased, he would gradually lose his humanity and completely become a monster. And at this time, Li Cheng had already taken his stance. His left hand for action, his right hand for resentment. He was preparing to use Buddhist principles to neutralize Gustav's ferocity. His left hand emitted waves of golden Buddhist light. A huge palm print whistled out with an ethereal chanting sound, directly sending the ultimate form Gustav flying several meters, leaving a deep drag mark on the ground. Following that, his right hand formed a palm print. Although the immense force pushed Gustav back step by step, Li Cheng knew the power of the palm print didn't even break the opponent's defense. Just then, Luoxia's terrifying electromagnetic force blasted out from behind Li Cheng. Seeing the immensely powerful electromagnetic ball, Li Cheng flew up, and using the power of Tai Chi with both hands, he redirected the electromagnetic ball towards Gustav. The powerful force instantly burned Gustav to a crisp, with no heartbeat. Li Cheng at this time also noticed the blue light curtain behind him, and was wondering what it was when Xia Anning said that the brainwaves emitted by this monster were actually Luoxia's. Beast looked at Luoxia in the sky in shock. He couldn't believe that the Flame Lord, number 014 of the Calamities, had actually appeared in this world. Facing the attack of the city guards, the enraged Luoxia seemed to have lost his mind. He began to attack everything around him. Fiona knew that if this continued, the entire city would cease to exist. She hoped Iron Lily, could do something to wake up her little boyfriend. At Princess Anna's suggestion, Lily decided to try using her voice to wake up the crazed Luoxia. As her song began, the originally agitated Luoxia gradually regained his consciousness. He returned to his original form, and, looking weak, fell directly into Lily's arms. And at this moment, a red figure flashed past Li Cheng. Gustav condensed his last bit of blood, and stabbed at Princess Anna. Li Cheng directly used a 1,000-pound drop, and stomped him hard into the ground, completely lifeless. But something unexpected happened to Li Cheng. Gustav's blood actually followed the path of the Prajna palm, and entered Li Cheng's body, absorbing this external qi. Li Cheng's dantian felt as if it had been ignited. Faced with this sudden change, Li Cheng knew he had to expel the qi from his body. He gradually controlled the erupting qi in his body, gathering it in his palm, and then violently expelled it. The immense power of the Prajna palm was like a missile, forcefully blasting a trench over 100 meters long in front of him. Feeling his own strength increase again, Li Cheng couldn't figure out the reason for it at this time. A few hours later, Li Cheng and his party left the Golden Lotus Hotel, and continued towards Xiao's location. Paige was severely injured at this time, but he still refused Beast's healing potion. He would rather accept death than use a potion made from the lives of superhumans. Seeing Pig's firm attitude, Beast again suggested that Anna use her superpower to heal him. Anna listened with a look of confusion. She herself didn't know when she had gained the ability to heal. Faced with everyone's confusion, Beast explained that Princess Anna's ability, to be precise, is the ability to wish. As long as the princess sings while making a wish, it will definitely come true. As Anna's beautiful song began, everyone in the car fell into a state of tranquility. Pig's already broken bones were connected together by a group of little angels. In a short while, Paige was as good as new. Natasha was completely shocked by this perception-shattering ability, but in Li Cheng's eyes, he saw a little angel doll with demon arms floating above Anna. Princess Anna used her superpower to summon the Angel of Death to heal Paige. Li Cheng asked with a confused look how Beast knew about the princess ability. Beast explained that a year ago, he was conscripted by the Secret Service to participate in a project called Skuld, and the content of this project was to interpret dreams. The Secret Service found a superhuman code named Hypnos, who could make nearby test subjects have prophetic dreams at the same time. In the dream world, they could act as observers to obtain a large amount of information about the future of the real world. For example, the list of dangerous individuals, but the list was just a byproduct of this project. The priority research subject in the dream world at that time was called the Calamity Sequence. It ranked world-destroying crisis events like superhuman, world wars, and natural disasters in chronological order of their outbreak. This is the Calamity Sequence. The Flame Lord that Luoxia transformed into earlier was a calamity, numbered 014. A plasma life form that turns all things into a sea of fire. He didn't recognize Luoxia at the time, because the intelligence on the Flame Lord was insufficient. He only knew it was the product of some superhuman going berserk. The Secret Service, after observing the existence of the Calamity Sequence through Hypnos, established an emergency response team to deal with the frequent global crises. This is the Skuld Project. One of its tasks was to analyze the true identities of all superhumans in the parallel world, analyze their abilities and behavioral motives, and establish a superhuman data spectrum. From this, they would select members to form a hero team to deal with the Calamity Sequence crisis. But naturally, there were some with top-tier abilities who, for various reasons, were not suitable for conscription, and could even become a threat. And this is how the secretly leaked dangerous individuals list appeared on the public network. There was a problem with the Secret Service's security channels, which led to the leak of the dangerous individuals list. This meant that the Skuld Project the Calamity sequence, and the Prophet, Hypno's existence were all leaked. Because of the exposure, the entire project team was taken by the police. But the Calamities would not just disappear. He could only urgently contact a few civilian superhumans to save Princess Anna. Now that the authenticity of the prophecy has been confirmed, unfortunately, from beginning to end, they never saw the Calamity fighting Super Squad formed by the Secret Service, if I am not mistaken. There must be a split in the upper echelons of Hajongguo. I am afraid some people have already made the worst choice at this point. Luoxia looked bewildered and said he didn't understand. Natasha analyzed that, if they could obtain intelligence on an attack in advance, they had two simple choices. First, use the known intelligence to preemptively arrest the terrorists and prevent the disaster from happening at the source. Second, let the attack happen to ensure the accuracy and validity of the intelligence line. To achieve a greater goal, Beast told everyone with a serious face that it was now basically confirmed. The higher-ups of Hajongguo, to ensure the accuracy of the prophecy, are prepared to watch the Calamity sequence that will destroy humanity unfold. If it weren't for the appearance of Li Cheng and the others, and they hadn't saved Princess Anna, Calamity sequence number 006, the Iron and Blood Emperor, the Tsar, would, due to the death of Princess Anna, tear up the peace treaty and start a world war. Although the Tsar is not a superhuman, he, by his own power, pushed the world to the brink of nuclear war. Therefore, in chronological order, he was included in the Calamity sequence, if I'm not mistaken, as early as a year ago. When the Crown Prince and his wife were assassinated, the Tsar was probably already preparing for war, but because at that time, Princess Anna wished for world peace, and no more wars, her superpower became a shackle that bound the Tsar, which is why war did not break out. So, Princess Anna is the last chain binding the Tsar and the Empire. An hour later, the group arrived at a service area to restock. Natasha found Paige, and hoped they would join the Empire, but Paige refused. Although they were hostile to Hajongguo, they did not want to become the running dogs of the Tsarist Empire, but Natasha said that they hadn't seen a single person on the road, if it weren't for Hajongguo being concerned about the princess' safety. Missiles and bombs would have been dropped long ago. At this time, the princess no longer had the protection of the Empire. If Anna's ability was truly as the professor described, she must not fall into the hands of Hajongguo. So, moving together is the safest option. Inside the restaurant, Li Cheng looked at the Angel of Death not far away. He was a little puzzled. It seemed that besides himself, no one else could see this thing. Beast hoped Li Cheng would join forces with the Secret Service to deal with a group of rebellious forces and assist in preventing the calamity from happening. Li Cheng, without a second thought, directly refused Beast's proposal. He got up and pressed on Beast's shoulder and said slowly, "When you breathe, it's 3 shallow and 1 deep." Moving the abdomen, not the lungs, with deep internal chi in the abdomen, and a steady gait. These are the characteristics of someone who has practiced internal martial arts. I am very curious. Where did you, a foreigner, learn internal martial arts? You see, Li Cheng had been obsessed with martial arts since he was a child, but what he learned were all external martial arts forms, and only the basic moves, without the secrets of power generation. As for internal martial arts, he only learned one palm technique from his grandfather as a child. He couldn't tell its power when he was young, but after the superhuman revival, Li Cheng discovered that the power of that prajna palm far exceeded the external martial arts he had practiced for over a decade. He only regretted being too young at the time, and not pestering his grandfather to learn all the subsequent palm techniques. He never expected that now. He would discover the essence of internal martial arts in Beast. Faced with Li Cheng's question, Beast quickly explained that he learned it from a book called The Elian Mountains. He thought it was a Qigong manual, and out of curiosity, he imitated it and learned it. Li Cheng naturally did not believe his nonsense, and while increasing the force in his hand, he asked where the book was. Beast said the book was in the National Library, but he had memorized the entire text and could write it down for Li Cheng. Li Cheng, half believing and half doubting, untied the ropes on Beast and told him to start writing now. At the same time, Paige and Luoxia also came to the shop, wanting to exchange some information with Li Cheng. Previously, the ones who killed Pig's family and kidnapped Li Cheng were from Golden Tooth's gang. and the order came from a Secret Service agent. According to Professor Beast, the purpose of the Secret Service's project itself was to form a force to deal with calamities. Those civilian vigilantes were just incompetent failures who were eliminated in the initial selection. As for those dangerous superhumans who would not be used by them, they were all directly locked up in the North Sea prison for experiments, and finally executed. Currently, they should have a fully equipped and powerful superhuman force. However, the leak of the Skuld project also proved that the Secret Service was not a monolith. The top priority now is still to go to the town of Salem in Hajongguo to rescue Xiao Xia, and then make plans. And at this time, in the town of Salem, a thick fog has enveloped it. In the woods on the outskirts, the octopus woman, Minerva, is analyzing the composition of the fog. This fog is not water vapor or dust, but a polymer of some unknown molecule. Although it blocks signal transmission, it does not affect the use of electronic devices. Regarding this calamity event that occurred outside the prophecy, she decided to, before the Secret Service's superhuman team arrived, proactively contact this calamity to see if she could recruit it into her organization. She raised her head and looked at the alchemist Vulcan standing beside her, hoping he could give her some help. Vulcan said that he would not accompany Minerva inside, but he would leave his suit of armor. This was his masterpiece. Not only was it enhanced and protected in various ways, it could also fit anyone's body shape, and was equipped with a holy sword inlaid with a philosopher's stone. He took off his helmet and gave Minerva a gentlemanly bow, apologizing again, and advising her that only a calamity can deal with a calamity. Then he left behind only a scattered suit of armor and the holy sword, and disappeared. And at this time, Li Cheng and the others also arrived in Salem. According to Professor Beast's divination, this trip was a sign of great misfortune. He couldn't figure out how a trio of the number 1 and 2 most dangerous individuals, plus a calamity, could face such great danger. Although Li Cheng was skeptical of Beast's divination, he touched the Qigong manual in his pocket. This was the real deal, which made him hesitate. Suddenly, Infinity appeared before them. She looked at the pale-faced Professor Beast, and then at Princess Anna beside him, and immediately concluded that Li Cheng had kidnapped them. Her angry emotions raised her power to another level, but under Pig's superpower, she was still pressed to the ground. Pige warned her that if she came looking for trouble again, it would not be this easy. Sensing that Pig's power and precision had significantly improved, Li Cheng thought to himself, "It seems that leveling up abilities is not a skill exclusive to me." At this time, another vigilante flew over and told everyone that the governor had evacuated the residents here and hoped everyone would leave as soon as possible. Li Cheng stared at the fog in front of him. He felt like something was about to come out. Gradually, the figure of a little girl appeared before everyone. Luoxia immediately rushed over and asked if she was Xiao Xia, but before he could finish, he was pulled back by Li Cheng. Everyone was at a loss about Li Cheng's actions. It was the first time they had seen Li Cheng with such a look of facing a great enemy. At this time, Li Cheng's muscles were tense, like a spring ready to explode. His stance was like a mantis waiting to hunt. Suddenly, several vines grew from under the girl. Seeing this strange scene, Li Cheng was momentarily distracted. Suddenly, a vine shot towards Anna. Fortunately, Li Cheng reacted in time and cut the vine with his chi. Beast looked at Li Cheng in shock. He didn't expect that in just a few hours. Li Cheng had skillfully mastered the use of chi. Countless vines rained down on Li Cheng. With the support of chi, Li Cheng was like holding an indestructible treasure sword. In an instant, he cut the vines into several pieces. Seeing that everyone was unharmed, Li Cheng finally breathed a sigh of relief. Just as Luoxia was wondering if Li Cheng had killed Xiao Xia, countless more Xiao Xias emerged from the houses in the town. They kept spitting out fog from their mouths. Soon, everyone was lost in the dense fog. As Li Cheng slowly advanced, the vines blocking his path became more and more numerous. He directly released his chi, forming 2 3-foot-long white chi blades. Facing more and more Xiao Xias, he couldn't feel any of their consciousness or aura. He didn't know what was wrong with Xiao Xia. He could only keep moving forward, trying to find the problem with Xiao Xia. He cut through all the vines and arrived at an open space. At the same time, Paige and the others, facing Xiaoxia's attacks, could only do their best to defend. Professor Beast also discovered that Xiaoxia seemed to have no self-awareness. In her monstrous state, she was instinctively transforming the local environment to make it more suitable for her survival. She was constantly eroding the nearby soil, water, and atmosphere. If left unchecked, the entire Earth would be transformed into a world suitable for her existence. Hearing Beast's theory, the justice-filled Infinity directly charged forward. She kept tearing at the vines, trying to stop the fog from spreading, but her actions completely enraged Xiaoxia, making the original attack even more violent. Luoxia directly transformed into his flame form. Since Xiaoxia was a plant, fire should be the natural enemy of plants, but Beast directly stopped Luoxia's actions, saying their natures were completely different. If Luoxia didn't come back, he might ignite the entire atmosphere. Seeing that no one had a good solution, Paige decided to have everyone get in the car first, and think of a way to help Xiaoxia after they got out. And at this moment, Infinity had already lifted the car behind her, and threw it violently at the countless vines. The car was instantly smashed to pieces by the vines. Regarding this stupid woman's foolish behavior, Paige was also furious to the extreme. Suddenly, countless sonar locator balls fell from the sky, landing around everyone. Paige sensed something was wrong and quickly told everyone to get down. The next second, countless shells rained down from the sky, launching an indiscriminate bombardment on the area. Fortunately, Paige reacted in time, and used a gravity shield to block the attack, saving everyone. But seeing the shattered Xiaoxia, Paige was completely enraged. He couldn't tolerate anyone attacking the girl who had pulled him out of the abyss. Immense gravity crushed the soldiers behind. Ruthless bullets pierced their heads. The hammer of gravity smashed the people in front, like cracking walnuts, turning them into powder. Witnessing Paige's ferocity, Peter was so scared he slumped to the ground. Beast was about to speak, but was interrupted by Paige's roar. The cause of all this was that list. If Hajongguo hadn't pushed the superhumans to the brink, how could there be a disaster? After saying this, he and Luoxia walked into the fog. At the same time, Anna and Lily, who were separated from the group, had a strange dream. They witnessed the entire process of Xiaoxia's family's car accident, and this car accident was entirely planned by Hajongguo. The purpose was just to capture Xiaoxia. When the two woke up, they found a butterfly hairpin suddenly in their hands. On the other side, Li Cheng had already reached the source of the route, the Yihua route, the Salem orphanage. As soon as he entered the passage, a pig-headed monster rushed out at him. Li Cheng dodged its attack with a sliding tackle and with a returning punch, blew its head off. At this time, another monster in a security guard uniform jumped out, and was cut in two by Li Cheng's tie-in blade chi. Seeing that the two monsters were lifeless, he started moving again towards the depths of the passage, but more monsters poured out from the depths of the passage. Li Cheng raised his shotgun and fought his way through. At the end of the tunnel was a human experimentation lab. A blood-stained bed caught Li Cheng's attention. He picked up a sketchbook scattered on the bed, and on it were drawings of Luoxia, Paige, and himself. The most frequently drawn one was a little girl and a child covered in bandages. Li Cheng didn't understand what it meant. He picked up a group photo and fell into deep thought. Where on earth did this kid go? At the same time, Minerva took a sample from a mutated dog on its body. Then she drew her holy sword and plunged it hard into the wild dog's throat. Soon, she found Xiaoxia hiding by the pond. Seeing that Minerva had found her, Xiaoxia quickly ran into a nearby house and hid in a closet, not daring to make a sound. Minerva looked at Xiaoxia in the closet with a kind expression, and said in a gentle tone that she would help him, and would not harm him. And at this time, the octopus monitor left outside suddenly discovered a five-handed, three-headed, three-legged monster. It was waving its arms, and its three mouths were constantly shouting, "Where are you? Come out quickly." Xiaoxia pulled Minerva into the closet, and motioned for her not to make a sound. Minerva didn't want to play hide-and-seek with this monster. Just as she was about to give the attack command, countless sonar locator bullets rained down from the sky, followed by several missiles, which directly blew the monster to pieces. Watching the monster die, a dozen fully armed Special Forces soldiers walked out. They were the top-tier ground forces of the military, the Special Operations Forces. butter knife, looking at the trembling Xiaoxia, and the glowing red warning of the Philosopher's Stone, Minerva suddenly had an ominous premonition. On the surveillance screen, a child, wrapped in bandages, appeared before everyone. 2 Special Forces members charged out, and pressed a switch on their wrists, injecting a potion into their bodies, instantly transforming into 2 mutants. But facing the psychic shockwave of the strange child, the 2 were directly blown to pieces. Then, countless flames appeared out of thin air, and directly burned the others to ashes. The next moment, this terrifying child appeared in front of Minerva, and reached out to grab her. Countless defensive formations appeared from the armor, but they couldn't block it. For a second, the terrifying palm broke through the formations, and pressed on her arm. In an instant, the armor on her body shattered. When she regained consciousness, she only felt the world spinning, and she knelt on the ground, vomiting. After a while, she looked at the butterfly hairpin in her hand in disbelief. Did this thing save me? Just then, the holy sword beside her sounded an alarm again. Without thinking, she picked up the sword and swung it around. Li Cheng directly blocked the long sword with his dagger. Then he flicked it upwards, sending the sword flying. Catching the falling sword, he pointed it directly at Minerva's throat. Seeing that it was Li Cheng, Minerva breathed a sigh of relief. She knew she wasn't going to die. She pushed away the sword at her throat, and handed Li Cheng a business card, stating her identity. She belonged to a superhuman organization called the Pantheon, dedicated to providing all services to the evolved, ensuring their safety, and enhancing their abilities. She hoped Li Cheng would join her organization, and in return for protection, she only needed his help to fight against the Federal Security Committee. The Federal Security Committee is a comprehensive military intelligence agency, and the direct superior of the Secret Service and the Investigation Bureau. It is the true brain of Hezhongguo, and in this brain, the mainstream opinion is that all superhumans are cancer cells in the human body, a wrong turn in human evolution that needs to be completely eradicated. Regarding Minerva's recruitment, Li Cheng was not interested. He didn't want to join any organization. Just as Li Cheng was about to leave, the child wrapped in bandages appeared. Facing this mysterious child, Li Cheng stepped forward and asked if he was Xia Anning. The child giggled. Li Cheng immediately sensed something was wrong, and retreated dozens of meters, but his arm was still hit by some unknown force, and turned into a skeleton. But he was not flustered at all. He chanted the mantra, 3 souls turn to white bone. Jade Chi breaks the cycle, give me back my flesh. Then, the arm that had turned into a skeleton recovered as if new. Minerva looked at this scene in disbelief. Her mind was full of bones growing flesh. This is not scientific. The mysterious child also became interested, and conjured more light rays. Li Cheng, although temporarily unable to dodge all the light rays, also discovered that there was a time interval for this ability to activate. Taking advantage of this opening, he dodged behind the child in a flash, but the child's head directly did a 360-degree spin. A ray of light directly pierced Li Cheng's abdomen. Li Cheng clutched his bleeding abdomen and chuckled. Countless golden lights poured out from the wound, and in an instant, the wound healed, and new muscle grew. And this was exactly the legendary Daoist immortality technique from the pre-Qin era. Tai-Yin refining body. That foreigner thought it was just ordinary Qigong, but he didn't know that this technique required a large amount of Qi to be cultivated. The child, seeing Li Cheng was unharmed, was furious. His body emitted countless rays of light, and pierced Li Cheng's entire body. The next second, Li Cheng's body glowed with golden light, and he recovered. He extended his finger, and gave the child a flick on the head with his Qi. The child was struck as if by lightning, and instantly turned into a strange light, and disappeared. At the same time, Agent K also came before Beast. Looking at Agent K, who looked a dozen years younger, Beast knew he had used the experimental potion, but the side effect of this potion was that he could only live for 3 months. He hoped K would give up the mission to capture Li Cheng, but he directly took out a tube of potion, and inserted it into his own vein. Seeing his action, Beast looked helpless, and could only give him a hint. He only had 0.03 seconds to strike, otherwise, Li Cheng would definitely react. At the same time, Minerva was observing Li like a curious baby. Li Cheng impatiently asked her, if there was any way to save Xiao Xia. After some bargaining, Li Cheng agreed to help her 4 times in exchange for information. Then, Minerva gave Li Cheng the butterfly hairpin she had obtained. This hairpin was a part of Xiao Xia's soul fragment, and also the key to healing Xiao Xia. The scene shifts to Luoxia and Paige. They followed a distress signal, and found the person in charge of this base, an agent. According to Yi's statement, Xiao Xia's codename was Hala, and she was the gate connecting Helheim and Midgard. She possessed the power of the goddess of death, and Helheim is precisely the underworld in the mythology of the World Tree. The surrounding fog is the gate to the land of eternal night and fog. In order to successfully extract the psychic type enhancement potion, they even split Xiao Xia's personality for easier control. And yesterday, because an employee carelessly used the wrong potion, Xiao Xia's subpersonality went berserk, causing this calamity. Before he could finish speaking, the enraged Luoxia grabbed his head and directly turned him into a pile of black dust. Paige looked at the big tree glowing with golden light on the distant mountain top. That should be where Xiao Xia's main body is. At the same time, Princess Anna and Lily had already reached the center of the big tree. Seeing Xiao Xia lying there quietly, Lily placed the butterfly hairpin she had gotten on her chest. A golden light suddenly appeared, and Xiao Xia's face gradually recovered. Suddenly, Xiao Xia's subpersonality appeared before the two of them. She looked at the angel of death floating above, and her mind suddenly became a little chaotic. Lily at this time also expressed kindness to Xiao Xia. The moment their hands touched, Lily instantly felt the pain this child had endured. She quickly withdrew her hand, and said she didn't mean it. And just then, Infinity appeared. She kicked at Xiao Xia with all her might, but was easily dodged. But the big tree beneath was split in 2 by the force. The angel of death protected Anna and Lily in time, but Xiao Xia's main body fell into the abyss under the tree. Suddenly, a purple light emerged from the abyss. A death tree leading to the underworld shot up from the ground. Xiao Xia's subpersonality was completely enraged. Facing the charging Infinity, she sent her to her death with a single move. The entire sea of fog instantly ignited with purple flames. Seeing Xiao Xia lose control again, Luoxia could only transform into a man of fire to stop her, to buy time for the others to escape. But facing Xiao Xia's attack, Luoxia, as just a man of fire, was clearly no match. He transformed into a calamity again. His powerful attack directly pierced through Xiao Xia's body and burned the entire ground. Xiao Xia, not to be outdone, also transformed into a calamity, and fought with Luoxia. In the distance, Minerva watched this release of light and heat energy with excitement. She felt as if she was witnessing the greatest evolution, and her whole person became moist. Suddenly, Li Cheng felt a jolt. In the distance, a bullet was heading for his head. Li Cheng quickly bent down to dodge. The time it took was only 0.01 seconds. The immense power of the bullet carved a trench through the forest behind him. Agent K looked at Li Cheng with a smile, and despised in his heart. Beast was still the same as before, full of nonsense. Seeing Li Cheng quickly approaching, he directly ignited the pre-prepared explosives. The shrapnel from the explosion instantly created more than a dozen holes in Li Cheng's body. However, Li Cheng ignored them and directly punched him. Although he took a punch from Li Cheng, Agent K seemed not to have been seriously injured. At this time, Li Cheng suddenly felt his vision blur. He immediately thought the shrapnel was poisoned, and quickly activated his chi to force the poison and shrapnel out of his body. The two clashed again. Although the agent, injected with the potion, KS speed could keep up with Li Cheng, his combat ability was slightly inferior. He was soon pierced through the chest by Li Cheng's dagger, and then kicked into a wall. He felt the opponent's heartbeat stop. Li Cheng turned to leave. Suddenly, he found a hole in his heart. Agent K, who had no heartbeat, had recovered as if new. Li Cheng looked at him in surprise, and thought to himself, this woman also knows tie-in refining. Then the two began a new round of fighting. He held the chi-enhanced dagger, and slashed at Li Cheng's neck. Li Cheng grabbed his wrist and broke it. Then he kicked his abdomen. Agent K took the opportunity to hook Li Cheng's abdomen with his foot, and grab Li Cheng's neck with both hands. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rear naked choke. Li Cheng fell backward, and used him as a cushion to smash into the ground. An elbow strike broke his ribs. Then he grabbed his left hand and broke it. At this time, Agent K spat out a blade from his mouth and bit down hard, slashing Li Cheng's carotid artery. A large amount of blood spurted out. Li Cheng turned around and with a fierce punch, smashed his head into the ground. This kind of injury was nothing to Li Cheng. His chi could quickly heal the wound. He lifted Agent K with one hand, wanting to get some intelligence on Hezhong Guo from his mouth. But Agent K took this opportunity to bite down on the switch in his mouth. The bomb hidden in his stomach exploded with a boom. After a flash of fire, a battered Li Cheng walked out and gradually recovered under the support of his chi. Minerva looked at him with excitement. In just a short while, he had leveled up again. Li Cheng ignored Minerva and instead walked directly towards the death tree where Xiao Xia was. At the same time Li Cheng was dealing with Agent K, Paige used his superpower to directly open a passage and arrived under the tree. Seeing that Anna and Lily were unharmed, he was relieved. But in the sky, Luoxia was gradually losing. Xiao Xia, receiving energy from the death tree, became even more powerful. At this time, Li Cheng also arrived. He looked at the angel of death floating in the sky, and looked at Anna apologetically. He hoped she could use her song to ask for a way to save Xiao Xia. As the song began, the angel of death's claws moved. The hairpin in Li Cheng's pocket flew out and went into the light of the death tree. Li Cheng seemed to understand something when he looked at Anna again. The originally middle school-aged Anna now had an impressive figure. He seemed to know the price of her singing. Anna didn't care. She just hoped Li Cheng could quickly save this suffering child. Li Cheng said he owed Princess Anna a favor. Then he shouted to Luoxia in the air, hoping he could hold on until he saved Xiao Xia. He came to the front of the help and reached out his arm to tentatively touch the purple light. As a result, his arm instantly turned into a skeleton. It seemed the only way was to constantly use chi to repair it. Then he jumped into the pillar of light without hesitation. To reduce the pain, he used meditation to seal his 6 senses. The hellish wind from the underworld scorched every one of his cells. Gradually, in a daze, Li Cheng seemed to see a twisted, indescribable idol of an evil god, whispering to him from the void, "One begets all things. All things return to one." As incomprehensible words floated into his mind, Li Cheng finally turned into a skeleton and landed in a corner of Helheim, the land of the dead. After an unknown amount of time, a desire in his heart awakened him. Hatred nourished his flesh. Anger rebuilt his experience. Li Cheng's entire body was covered by golden chi, forming a layer of Taiyin Zen clothing. He followed Xiao Xia's soul fragment and found Xia Anning hiding in the depths. However, Xiao Xia seemed to have forgotten him. After explaining his purpose, Li Cheng pulled Xiao Xia and walked away. At the same time, watching the defeated Luoxia, Paige unleashed his full power, but was still no match for Xiao Xia. Minerva threw the philosopher's stone from the holy sword to Paige, and said it could enhance his power. Paige crushed it in his hand. A powerful force shot up into the sky, dispersing the fog that covered the sky above, revealing the bright starry sky. With the boost from the philosopher's stone, Paige also transformed from a homeless uncle into a handsome middle-aged man. He activated his ability and directly lifted a large piece of land under Xiao Xia into the sky. With a move called Earth-Crushing Heavenly Star, he used gravity to seal the calamity that Xiao Xia had become, and then slammed it hard onto the ground. As the rocks shattered, Xiao Xia's subpersonality also revealed its true form. Taking advantage of Paige's distraction, he quickly flew into the pillar of light to replenish his energy. Suddenly, a giant claw stretched out from the pillar of light. A monster that seemed to be from hell appeared before everyone. Paige activated his ability and transformed into 2 giant rock beasts to fight the monster. Soon, the monster was pressed to the ground by the rock beast. At this time, 2 more giant stone hands drilled out from the side and relentlessly pounded the monster with their fists. Gradually, the monster revealed its true form, covered in eyes, and stuck out its tongue. And on its tongue lay Xiao Xia's subpersonality. Just as Paige was about to gather all his power to deliver the final blow, he retracted his ability. He really couldn't bring himself to attack Xiao Xia, who had saved his life. He grabbed the unconscious Luoxia and said he was powerless. At this time, Minerva arrived. Communications seemed to have been restored. It was probably the previous battle that dispersed the fog that blocked electromagnetic radiation. She pointed a finger to the sky, and a huge spaceship appeared above everyone. At the same time, Hajonggua's special forces also arrived here. They directly fired 2 extermination rounds specifically designed for psychic mutants at Xiaoxia. With a huge explosion, the death tree began to gradually dissipate. Suddenly, Li Cheng, carrying Xiaoxia, emerged from the gate of the underworld. Xiaoxia looked at the subpersonality lying on the ground, barely breathing, and thought for a long time. Minerva said that if Xiaoxia fused with the subpersonality's soul, although he would regain his memories, the pain he had endured would also accompany him for life. Xiaoxia hesitated for a moment, but still chose to fuse. As his memories returned, his hair color and pupils turned into 2 different colors. On the Atlantic Ocean, Li Cheng and the others were on a spaceship, heading to the Pantheon's headquarters. Page and the others entered a liquid repair pod for treatment. Li Cheng asked Minerva to check Anna's body to verify his idea. The examination revealed that Anna's metabolism was extremely fast. Her cells were growing and aging at a rate that could not be explained by science. When Lily took out a photo of her and Anna from a few days ago, everyone realized that although Princess Anna's ability could grant wishes, it came at the cost of her lifespan, and this ability could also, from a spiritual level, affect or tamper with the perception and consciousness of onlookers, making them unaware of the user's changes. Natasha was completely stunned. In her memory, Princess Anna was just 6 years old. Now she had become like this, and she hadn't noticed at all. Li Cheng looked at the angel of death that had been following Anna. He had no idea what to do with this creature that he couldn't physically touch. Just then, the spaceship was attacked by the Secret Service and was cut in 2. Minerva quickly activated the mechanical octopuses to form a temporary power system to retreat. She handed the controls of the spaceship to Natasha and went to find the other half of the aircraft by herself. And facing the enemy's pursuit, Li Cheng directly jumped onto the enemy's plane to take care of the trouble. He had no choice for a moment and was forced back by 2 kicks. The 2 of them were emanating chi and took a 5 forms and 2 shapes fist stance, but their kung fu, in Li Cheng's eyes, was just a clumsy trick. He instantly manifested the Tai Yin Zen clothing, and with a single wave of his hand, cut one of them in half. The other person took the corpse and directly chose to merge with it. In an instant, his whole body was enveloped in golden chi. Li Cheng didn't know what to do with this unkillable ability, and he, in the Tai Yin Zen clothing mode, was consuming too much energy, and his mind was gradually becoming blurry. Just then, Xiaoxia's subpersonality appeared in his mind and woke him up in time. Seeing the golden iron fist already in front of him, Li Cheng directly used his most powerful move. The Prajna Claw instantly turned the opponent to ashes. Then he could no longer hold on and collapsed on the plane. When Li Cheng woke up, he was already on a cruise ship called the Golden Apple, and the wheat-skinned beauty in front of him was the CEO of the Pantheon, Zhuamo. After some conversation, he learned that Natasha was ruthlessly thrown off the ship by Minerva. Lily had returned to her own country, and Princess Anna's condition was not very good. She had been in the repair pod for treatment. According to the information provided by the Pantheon, the calamities that brought human civilization to the brink of extinction were actually only the first 5 that were the most crucial. According to the current data, calamities caused by superhumans can only exist in a maximum of 5 at the same time. Only when a certain calamity is defeated will other new calamity ability users be born. So, their plan is to, before the disaster happens, plug the source, which is to deal with the first 5 calamities, according to their current information, except for number 1, the Hermit, and number 2, the Pain Echo. The other 3 were not eliminated as planned but were recruited by the Secret Service. Currently, the files for numbers 3, 4, and 5 are top secret, and are strictly confidential, and number 2, the Pain Echo, was directly assassinated. When they saw the photo of number 2, Lingzi, Li Cheng and the others fell silent, and number 1, codenamed the Hermit according to intelligence, seems to have been dealt with by Li Cheng. The reason he holds the top spot on the dangerous individuals list is also because of this reason. Li Cheng, on the other hand, was in a state of confusion, and had no recollection of this matter. The biggest difficulty now is Anna. If her current state is allowed to continue, once she dies, the Tsar will definitely start a war, which will lead to the destruction of humanity. Moreover, Hezhong Guo will not allow such a powerful ability as Anna's to be out of control. After arriving in Casablanca, the group met the puppet made by the Pantheon's alchemist, Vulcan. After introductions, Vulcan took the group to a clinic of a doctor named Bacchus. Bacchus has the ability to absorb and bestow life force. He can transfer someone's life force to another person. But when he was treating the princess, an accident happened. The angel of death, who had been silent by the side, suddenly stretched out its claws and tore off Dr. Bacchus's right hand. At the same time, Anna grew again. The group quickly opened the repair pod, but found that the nutrient solution inside had been used up. They contacted Minerva and learned that their spare nutrient solution had been stolen by the Bourbon armed forces supported by Hezhong Guo, and was being used to cultivate super child soldiers for the laboratory. At the same time, with Anna's critical condition, news also came from the Tsarist Empire that the Tsar was preparing to declare war on all superhumans in the world. The group immediately decided to go to the local experimental base in Hezhong Guo to get back the nutrient solution, to alleviate Anna's symptoms at night. To prevent the other side from destroying the nutrient solution out of desperation, Li Cheng and the others chose to sneak in. Xiao Xia used her psychic power to directly tamper with the delivery man's memory, allowing Li Cheng and the others to easily get on the truck. After entering the experimental base, they had a smooth journey thanks to Xiao Xia's ability. But just as Paige found the nutrient solution, he accidentally triggered a high-level magic circle. The experimental base was instantly filled with explosions. Fortunately, Paige acted in time and created a gravity field to protect the nutrient solution. Suddenly, a modified child soldier rushed over and cut Vulcan's puppet in half with a single blow. Li Cheng directly stepped in and cut him in half at the waist. Unexpectedly, the opponent reconnected. At this time, a large number of armored vehicles were heading this way. Luoxia directly transformed into his flame form and destroyed all the armored vehicles. Then, more than a dozen child soldiers rushed out. Xiao Xia directly used her ability to make them fall asleep. At the same time, the modified child soldier in front of them was cut into several pieces by Li Cheng's blade chi, and with the shattering of the magic circle, he lost all signs of life and turned into a pool of flesh. And on a piece of open ground a kilometer away, feeling the destruction of his masterpiece, the middle-aged man directly chanted a spell. Above Li Cheng and the others, a cloud of green destruction suddenly appeared. The fallen child soldiers instantly turned to ashes. Luoxia raised his hands, wanting to control this strange flame, but failed. He could only use his own flames to isolate it. Just then, a car enchanted with Vulcan's magic sped over and carried everyone through the minefield and out of the experimental base. On the other side, Bourbon's child soldiers attacked a patrol team of the Tsarist Empire. The modified child soldiers were like monsters, invincible. In an instant, the Tsarist Empire's patrol team was completely slaughtered. As the leader of Free Bourbon, General Gilles was with a kind face, promoting his great achievements to reporters. He portrayed himself as a righteous leader who rescued children trapped in the clutches of the Empire and stopped the Tsarist Empire's invasion. And just then, he learned that the experimental base had been attacked, and at the same time, learned that the Tsar had announced that he would never proactively tear up the peace treaty. Gilles was furious. If the Tsar didn't tear up the treaty, he couldn't start a war, and he wouldn't get support from other forces, which meant he had no chance of revival. He would never allow this to happen even if it meant becoming a demon. He would revive Bourbon. Inside Rick's bar in the city, Anna, under the repair of the nutrient solution, had stabilized. Rick told the story of Bourbon to everyone. It turned out that after the old Bourbon Republic was defeated, some of the army refused to disarm and surrender to the Empire. Under the leadership of General Gilles, they became the largest armed force resisting the Empire. He had the strong support of Hezhong Guo behind him. The purpose was to disintegrate the Tsarist Empire. At this time, Minerva notified everyone that Anna was awake. Looking at the middle-aged Anna, Li Cheng couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Anna said she had a dream. She dreamed that her grandfather was in great pain. He was very lonely. She kept trying to call him, but he couldn't hear, and the iron chains that once bound her grandfather were gradually breaking. On the path her grandfather had walked, she saw mountains of corpses and seas of fire. She hoped Li Cheng could help her return to the empire as soon as possible, to be by the Tsar's side. Li Cheng and the others agreed without hesitation. At the same time, Luoxia used the internet to publish Bourbon's human experiments online, but it was turned back on them by a Bourbon soldier using a live stream. Seeing the angry Luoxia, Vulcan revealed his true form and used a magic sprite to absorb Luoxia's overflowing superpower into an alchemy fox, and gifted Luoxia a philosopher's stone. And at this time, the dark magician, Francois, had already secretly infiltrated the town with his men. He used a magic circle to make Luoxia mistakenly kill a child from the slums. The crazed Luoxia went berserk again, and all of this was recorded by the Bourbon personnel hiding in the distance. They used the live stream to completely slander Luoxia and the others at this time. Xiaoxia also activated her mental scan and found the enemy's position. She pointed Luoxia in the right direction, straight to the Tiff Quarry. That was Bourbon's main base. Li Cheng and Paige also decided to go on a killing spree at this time, and chased after Luoxia. In the desert, Paige floated in midair. He pushed with both hands, and a huge sandstorm engulfed the entire base. Luoxia quickly swept past, and turned all the armored vehicles into a pile of scrap metal. Minerva, at this time, had also hacked into Free Bourbon's computer system. She published the data on Bourbon's human experiments to the whole country. Seeing that the situation was irreversible, the deputy director of the Hajongua Secret Service, Masters, hoped that Gilles would take all the blame, and stated that the Hajongua Secret Service would completely cut ties with Free Bourbon. At the same time, Li Cheng, holding two live streamers, jumped down from a helicopter. Seeing Li Cheng's arrival, Gilles directly admitted that he had ordered the human experiments. Li Cheng gave him a big slap, and then sent him flying with a punch, and when the dust settled, a green monster walked out of the ruins. It pounced at Li Cheng, but was stepped on by Li Cheng's whip kick. His strong unwillingness raised his power by another level. He grabbed Li Cheng's head, wanting to throw him away, but he found that Li Cheng didn't move at all. Instead, his own arm was torn off by his own immense force. He quickly let go, and with a full-powered punch, sent Li Cheng flying but with a loud bang. Li Cheng, who had flown over 100 meters away, instantly appeared in front of him, and with one kick, sent his head flying, and stomped him into a pulp. At this time, in the town, Vulcan also found the dark magician, Francois' tracks. He summoned all his puppets, but they were burned to ashes by Francois' foxfire. Just as he was about to die, Xiaoxia appeared. She instantly ignited the magic power inside Francois, and burned all his internal organs. With this, the forces of Free Bourbon were completely destroyed by Li Cheng and the others. One day later, at a secret military base of the Tsarist Empire, the head of intelligence of the Tsarist Empire, Beria, summoned Natasha, and ordered her and the werewolf Andrei to meet Li Cheng, to bring Princess Anna back to the Tsar's side. This was also their last chance to live. Natasha was very curious why Andrei was still alive. Andrei said he didn't know either. He only knew that when he was dying, he was saved by a group of people hiding in the dark. They then used him as a bargaining chip to make some kind of deal with the Tsarist Empire. At the same time, the secret service of Hajong Gua also received intelligence on Beria, and knew that they were about to meet with Li Cheng to hand over Princess Anna. They formulated a special operation plan to assassinate Beria, the Empire's intelligence chief. But what they didn't know was that all their actions were under Beria's control. Inside the hotel room, Natasha was anxiously waiting for Li Cheng and the others. Suddenly, a Secret Service agent burst in and pinned her to the ground. At this moment, the werewolf Andrei appeared. He took out a soldier with one move. Hearing the explosion, Li Cheng also appeared before everyone. At this time he glanced at Natasha on the ground, and in an instant, he killed everyone in the room. Andrei, not knowing that Li Cheng was about to attack from behind, was taken down with one kick. At this time, the agent with a hole in his chest pressed the potion switch. He jumped up and held Natasha hostage, and said he wanted to defect to the Tsarist Empire. Just as Beria was about to take him away, Minerva showed Page a file. It was this person who ordered Golden Tooth to kill Page's family. Page was filled with rage, and directly turned him into a pool of flesh. Beria, covered in blood, looked at Li Cheng and said, "Since it's a personal grudge, then let's forget about it." Then he left with Princess Anna. At the same time, Minerva informed Li Cheng that Professor Beast wanted to talk to him. Through their conversation, he learned that Beast was also a member of the Pantheon. He had now received the official support of Hajongguo, and had become the head of Hajongguo's superhuman project. He then took out a bottle of potion, and said it was a gift for the superhumans. A month later, Beast, holding the hand of the restored to age Anna, walked towards the Tsar. The Tsar also officially announced the importance of signing the peace treaty. From now on, whether they were from the Empire or Hajongguo, whether they were ordinary people or superhumans, they would live in peace and coexist. At the same time, the governments of all countries in the world jointly established a global Superhuman Research Association to deal with conflicts and disputes involving superpowers, and Beast was appointed as the chairman of the association. Li Cheng sat in the audience, looking at the angel of death bound by chains, and lamented that there were actually good people in Hajongguo who would voluntarily offer a cure to save Princess Anna. With the end of Beast's speech, the life of the deputy director of the Hajongguo Secret Service Masters also came to an end.